O'Reilly. You need parts? O'Reilly Auto Parts has parts. Need them fast? We've got fast. No matter what you need, we have thousands of professional parts people doing their part to make sure you have it. Product availability. Just one part that makes O'Reilly stand apart. The professional parts people. O'Reilly Auto Parts.
There's nothing like snook hook sets at dawn or catching a tarpon in the moonlight. Find your next fishing trip made easy on fishingbooker.com and experience the magic of the Sunshine State or any other destination on your fishing bucket list. Book a blue water adventure in search of sailfish or go snapper fishing with the kids. With over 6,000 captains and trips to choose from, planning your next one just got a whole lot easier. Download the Fishing Booker app on the Google Play or App Store, or visit them online at fishingbooker.com to book your trip today.
46% of Americans expect to leave behind financial obligations when they pass away. So it's crucial to make sure your family is financially protected. Policy Genius helps you find the right life insurance coverage by comparing options from America's top insurers with help from licensed, award-winning agents. Secure your financial future with Policy Genius. Head to policygenius.com to get free life insurance quotes in just a few clicks. That's policygenius.com.
All right, welcome back to Gear Talk. We've got my co-host Janis Patelis, myself Jordan Budd, and then we have a special guest, Heidi Allen from Nikwax is on, and we're gonna dive into all things gear care. So really appreciate you hopping on, Heidi.
Yeah, no worries. Like I said, I always love chatting about gear care, so I'm just really excited to be here with you all today and nerd out on how to extend the life of your outdoor clothing, footwear, and equipment.
Yeah, we love it. Can you give a little background for listeners on just, I guess, your background in some of these things, like coming from Nikwax and your role at Nikwax and all that?
Absolutely, yes. So I've been with Nikwax for just over 14 years now. Started when I was a youngin' and worked my way up in the North American office. I've done all sorts of things for the company. I've been there for so long because I just love helping people extend the life of their outdoor gear. I came to Nikwax from kind of the outdoor industry, guiding, ran my own little gear shop for a while. So just seen different elements of the outdoor and outdoor adjacent industries. We did a little program at Nikwax a while back that we called Gear Rehab, where people could send in one piece of gear per person for a year, and we would clean them and re-waterproof them and send them back. And I personally cleaned hundreds and hundreds of pieces of gear during that program, so I've had some pretty intense hand-on experience as well as, you know, working in the corporate mines. So
what happened to that program?
It was a little bit labor intensive doing all that gear care. It was great while it lasted, but I think in the end, I would prefer teaching people how to care for their own gear than doing it for them. You know, I can't be everyone's mom. I want people to be able to do it on their own. So, yeah, but it did afford me with a great amount of practical kind of knowledge and know-how. And my teammates that helped me out at the time also were ready to move on from it, let's say, once we'd wrapped it up.
That makes sense. Hey, before we jump into how to take care of gear, just tell us, I want to know what you do, because I didn't ask you this when we chatted prior to the interview. What do you do outdoors for fun? Like, what are your main escapes outside?
Yeah, you know, it's shifted throughout the years. I kind of started in more with the rock climbing side of things and went into a bunch of snowboarding. And then as I'm getting older and want to deal with less crowds, I've taken up fly fishing and surfing, which are kind of two of my main activities at the moment.
Dang, well-rounded.
Well, we live in Washington. There's tons of awesome stuff to do out here outside.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's dive in. We're going to start with outerwear. And when we say outerwear, we're talking mostly about waterproof, water-resistant garments like rain jackets, maybe soft shell jackets that have a durable water repellent, DWR finish on them, pants of the same nature, etc. So anything that you're mostly trying to keep the weather off of you is what we mean by outerwear. Before we jump into how to treat it, though, there's been a chat in the industry, just general outerwear industry. It's not limited to hunting and fishing, but there's the durable water repellent finish that's on your outerwear is going through some changes. And it's because of what it was made out of, what was found out about, like the chemicals that they use to make it. And so, and it's basically bad for us, it's bad for the environment, etc. I'm here to learn more about that. Heidi's going to explain sort of the changes in DWR that have happened over the last couple decades. Is that a good setup, Heidi?
Yeah, I think that sounds right on the nose. We can dive in a little bit too as to what DWR is and how it kind of helps with your waterproof garments too. I think that'd be great for folks. I mean, I'm sure everyone knows just exactly what it is. Yeah,
let's start with that and then we'll talk about how it's changing.
Yeah, so what the heck is DWR anyway, and why is it important? So, as you mentioned, you already called it out. DWR stands for Durable Water Repellency. And it's that coating that exists on the outside of rain jackets, ski jackets, even tents, backpacks, hiking boots, basically any piece of clothing or outdoor gear where the water forms we call them beads on the surface that allows the water to roll off and not absorb into the outer fabric. Now, this is really important because all of those items, we want them to be waterproof breathable. So DWR won't be on things that are not designed to be breathable. So your, kind of your slicker raincoats, your rubber fishing boots, those sorts of things, those aren't designed to be breathable. So they don't need to employ DWR coating. DWR does exist on items that use membranes. So more nerdy talk, but Gore-Tex is probably the best known membrane on the market. And membranes are generally fused to an outer fabric, and sometimes also to an inner fabric, depending on the layer of the jacket. And a membrane works by allowing the water vapor, so your sweat from your body or water vapor coming off of your body, to escape, but also prevents water droplets from coming through because the molecules of water vapor are smaller than water as a liquid. Woo! However, it's exciting stuff. With these membranes, because they are fused to that outer fabric, they need DWR on the outside for them to work as effectively as possible. Because if that outer fabric absorbs water and gets wet, then the moisture vapor from inside can't escape. It can't get through that water barrier. So basically, your really nice jacket turns into more like a garbage bag feeling jacket. Also, if that outer fabric is wet, it's going to make you feel a lot colder and clammier. It's going to bring down the temperature of your body by wearing a big, heavy, wet thing. So DWR does those two great things. It keeps, your jacket from being a big, soggy, wet mess, but it also helps maintain the breathability. And that's really what we're paying for with these really great pieces of gear.
Heidi, if I can interrupt, I think it's important to note, so everybody understands too, that the DWR is a finish. It's not a layer. It's not like the Gore-Tex. It's not the membrane. It's not the outer nylon. It's literally like a chemical treatment finish that is applied to the outside, right?
Correct. Yes. It is exactly that. And there's different types for sure. But yeah, pretty much all of it's applied to the exterior of the jacket as a finish. And we like to say it's DWR because it is durable, but it's not a permanent finish. It's not, permanently bound to the jacket. So that's a great call out. Absolutely.
Okay, so that's what it is. Let's jump into the, I don't even have it in my notes, so I'm going to mess it up, but the PFCs, right?
Yes. So that's what it is. And now we can talk about what is it made out of? So right now we're talking about factory applied DWR coatings, things that are applied to fabrics, leather, everything at the factory level. So back in the day, what this DWR was, we used what was called a C8, which was an 8 carbon chain technology, and it was super durable. And this kind of finish, it's something that was used in Teflon pans as well as rain jackets. And you might remember the kerfuffle around Teflon a while ago. That was around the same time that globally we started moving away from C8 because we found out that while it is extremely durable, it does a great job at repelling water and oil. Unfortunately, it is extremely persistent in the environment. It bioaccumulates, so that means it builds up in the human body and other creatures. And when it does that, it causes all sorts of health problems, cancer, reproductive issues, the whole shebang. So we moved away from C8 because, again, while it was great at repelling water, was not so great for all those reasons. And so the industry went to C6, again, talking about factory applied DWR, which was a 6 chain. So a little bit less durable. So that started happening around between 2018 to 2020-ish. It started taking effect. So not a super long time ago in the scheme of things. And people did notice a little bit of a difference in the durability of that water repellent coating on their gear. Again, because that chain is shorter, it just wasn't quite as tenacious. But the intent was that it was also not as tenaciously persistent in the environment. So yeah, that's kind of the story up until now. However, very recently, this fall, quite a few states have, starting with California, have decided that they're going to outlaw all use of PFAS, which is the family of all of the PFCs. And they don't want to use any of them in apparel or household goods, cosmetics. And so by 2025, most outdoor brands are going to be moving away from these PFC DWRs. And that's it's been shaking things up a little bit. Brands are looking to find solutions to apply to jackets. They want, their customers to be happy and dry and still able to go out and play in the outdoors and be comfortable. But it's taking a little bit of ingenuity and a lot of research to try to find a good alternative.
Yeah, is there an alternative yet?
There are a couple, but not a lot. And that's what the scramble is happening. The industry we always kind of knew, I say the industry, I mean any, kind of apparel, footwear, equipment manufacturer, the outdoor industry, hunting industry, et cetera. Clarify that. We always knew that there's going to be a move away from these chemicals, but there was never really a very clear timeline set. And so a lot of brands kind of had their own timelines, 2030. And then this legislation hit and it accelerated the process to a point where there's a scramble to find a solution that can integrate effectively with a lot of the different manufacturing processes. So that's going on. I'm not like the foremost expert in all of the factory applied technologies that exist on the market, but as an aftercare brand, we are hoping to be able to support our brand partners in the transition, and then we're also excited about technology that exists out there that's free of these PFAS chemicals because they're not good for people in the environment, and that's why we've never used them. We don't really believe that they're great. So yeah.
Well, that is not an easy thing to explain. I think you did a good job. Thank you for that. I was unaware. But I did some research after we had a little chat pre-podcast a couple weeks ago. And so I did a little research about what First Light was doing for this. They have a new, what they're calling like a green DWR that's not a C6. It's called R3. They tested it against the C6 stuff, and just quickly so you can see what First Light's doing, and I'm guessing that the competitors are doing the same thing. But in their testing, it said that all C6 tests were substantially worse than the R3 in water repellency and water absorption in the Bundesmann rain shower test. C6 performed lower on hydrostatic head. Don't know what that means. Maybe you can fill me in on that, Heidi. The results were still high, but lower than the R3. R3 showed better, more consistent peeling resistance through more washes than the C6, indicating better lamination strength and laminate waterproof durability. And that was pretty much it from their notes. So First Light should be shouting off the rooftops if it is true what you're saying, Heidi, that it's a big problem and people haven't found a solution, because according to the crew over there in Ketchum, they have a solution. So I'll be interested to hear from people. Please, write into Gear Talk at the Meat Eater, or join us on the podcasts page in the forum, in the conversation, and let us know if you've noticed a difference in DWR over the years and the performance of it. I'd be interested to hear about that.
Yeah. I'm going to have to do a little bit of Googling myself on this new one that you just told me about here that First Light's using, because I think that's awesome. Like, if we can get great performance and keep people dry outside without having to use these forever chemicals, I think that is just an enormous win. So I'm stoked about that. And basically, a lot of the challenge that people have been having with DWRs that do not use these forever chemicals is the oleophobicity of them. So the ability to repel oils aren't quite as up there with the PFAS chemicals. That's why those are used for cookware and that sort of thing, a lot of food packaging. So when it comes to finding alternatives, care is going to be more important than ever, because keeping these items clean is really going to ensure that you're going to get that great waterproof performance. I mean, as outdoors people, feel like we just beat the heck out of these pieces, and a lot of times, I'm super guilty of it. Like, get to the end of a hunt or a hunting season, and it just gets hung in the closet, and unless it's really dirty, I just don't clean it.
And you didn't even clean it once during the season.
No.
Yes, you
if
are.
I was wearing pearls, I'd be clutching them right now.
Listen, I've been having to wash I've been using my rain gear as sort of my main outerwear as I'm hunting lions, and hunting lions has required a lot of time spent with the snowmobile and the trailer and just the truck. And this time of year, if you live in a snowy, cold place, temperatures are fluctuating, and there's just dirt and dust and dirty snow and oil and grease and stuff. And I'm constantly underneath, when I roll my snowmobile over, I'm underneath pushing on it, or I'm on the trailer tightening it down or whatever. And my pants and everything is just constantly looking like I just changed the oil, wearing my nice outerwear. So I've been washing it a bunch. I'm interested to see if I've been doing it properly per Heidi's recommendations here. So I guess let's first, Heidi, start with, why is it important to keep your outerwear clean? Yeah.
So a lot of people are actually intimidated to clean their outerwear, especially like the higher tech or the more expensive it is. There's this fear that washing it is going to ruin it, when it really couldn't be further from the truth. Even Gore-Tex recommends that they say you should be washing your Gore-Tex jacket like every month, every 30 days. And that's coming straight from Gore-Tex. So the thing is if your gear gets dirty, all that dirt, oils, all of those things will actually attract water into the surface fabric of your jacket. They'll cause that water repellent coating to not work effectively, which will then make your jacket get super wet. So the dirtier your gear is, the worse it's going to work. So that's why cleaning is so important, is because you're removing all of those residues that are going to cause your jacket to wet out. That's the term I like to use, or the industry uses for if your jacket just soaks up water, wetting out. So regular cleaning, super key. I always like to say clean whenever your jacket looks dirty. So, I mean, this kind of sounds like a super obvious thing, but if you look like you've been rolling around under a snowmobile, maybe wash your jacket. But also sometimes there are things that you can't really see on your jacket that can cause it to wet out. So body oils from like touching certain parts of your jacket, like especially around the zippers and pockets and cuffs. Even campfire smoke is crazy because that residue will get on your jacket and that can cause your jacket to wet out prematurely. And I know everyone likes smelling like a campfire, like it's kind of like makes you feel all woodsy and happy, but it doesn't do great things for the performance.
So you're telling me just by hanging out by a campfire, I am killing the water repellency of my jacket?
You are not doing it any favors. Also, I just, in general, don't recommend hanging out by campfires in any sort of synthetic jacket. Little flying embers love to blast holes in puffy jackets and rain jackets and all those things. So,
what kind of impact do you see on, I guess, like the life of if you weren't around a campfire one night and got your jacket full of smoke? Like, would you see better repellency for like an extra 2 weeks if that wouldn't have happened? Or I'm sure that's hard to quantify, but
yeah, it could be hot. I mean, it depends on how smoky was the campfire, et cetera, et cetera. But you will see reduced performance. And that in combination, again, with touching your jacket or leaning over your truck to clean off your windshield. I mean, all those things are going to contribute to your jacket starting to wet out and not work the way it should.
Okay. And when it wets out, it's not the membrane, it's not the Gore-Tex or the 37.5 technology in there that's causing it to wet out. It's the fact that your DWR quit working, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Your jacket's not ruined. No need to freak out. Really, we always say just clean it first. That's like the most important thing you can do with your gear is just clean it. Please clean your jackets. By keeping them clean, you're going to have that DWR working the best that it can. I will say, household detergents can also leave behind residues that are similar to all those things I just described, in that they will attract water into the surface fabric of your jacket. So put away your rainforest bomb splash household detergent, use a technical cleaner. It's going to be way better, and they're meant to actually preserve that water repellent coating on your jacket.
So if I was at home and I don't have any technical cleaner yet, but my jacket's looking dirty and I can't make it to the store to buy any for a few days, but I want to wash my jacket right now, would it be better just to throw it in with a little bit of Tide, or should I just maybe wash it with no soap at all and just let it run through a cycle to let the water and the agitation just clean it as best it can?
Great question. If you have like a really gentle detergent at home, you could probably get away with that once or so to get the crud off, because oils and dirt are really going to pull a lot of water into your jacket. But those detergent residues will build up. However, if you've got like one of those super crazy detergents, Billy Mays selling it on infomercials style strength, I would say don't use the detergent. It's going to leave all sorts of stuff on your jacket that it's going to harm the performance.
O'Reilly Auto Parts are in the business of keeping your car on the road. O'Reilly Auto Parts offer friendly, helpful service and the parts knowledge you need for all your maintenance and repairs. If you're confused about what part you need, like what wipers are going to be the best, what replacement headlights are going to be the best, go into O'Reilly and talk to the people that work there, because they're great and they're super friendly, and they'll get you squared away where you walk out knowing you got the right thing. They've got thousands of parts and accessories in stock, either in-store or online, so you never have to worry if you're in a jam. Do you need your windshield wipers replaced? You need a brake light fixed? You need some quick service? They'll help you find the right part or point you to the nearest local repair shop for help. The professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts are your one-stop shop for all things auto do-it-yourself, and you can find what you need in-store or online. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit us at O'ReillyAuto.com/meateater. That's O'ReillyAuto.com/meateater. There's nothing like snook hook sets at dawn or catching a tarpon in the moonlight. Find your next fishing trip made easy on fishingbooker.com and experience the magic of the Sunshine State or any other destination on your fishing bucket list. Book a blue water adventure in search of sailfish or go snapper fishing with the kids. With over 6,000 captains and trips to choose from, planning your next one just got a whole lot easier. Download the Fishing Booker app on the Google Play or App Store, or visit them online at fishingbooker.com to book your trip today. You ever get that feeling you're stuck inside staring at screens and a primal urge kicks in? You crave wide open spaces, fresh air, the chance to connect with the land. Well, maybe it's time to find your own piece of the wild, but searching for property can be a maze. That's where land.com comes in. They got millions of listings across the country, from mountain ranches to hidden fishing holes. Their search tools are like a seasoned guide helping you narrow down what you want. Land.com isn't just about buying and selling. It's about finding a place to hunt, fish, explore, or simply sit by a campfire and listen to the crickets. So head over to land.com today to turn one day into today, because trust me, there's nothing quite like the feeling of standing on your own piece of earth.
So how would you recommend to wash these products?
Yeah, so using a technical cleaner is really key. Nikwax Tech Wash, a little name drop there, obviously, but is a great one. If you do have any kind of stubborn spots or stains on your jacket, you can pre-treat by pouring a little bit of a technical detergent directly on them, or a technical cleaner, and giving a little scrub with a gentle brush. I find that helps lift out more stubborn stains that don't necessarily want to go in the first wash. And then you can just clean it in the washing machine. It's pretty straightforward. A lot of these also are acceptable to be used as a hand wash. So if you're somewhere where you don't have access to a washing machine, if you're traveling internationally, in a hotel, you can absolutely hand wash using a technical cleaner to get your jacket clean again. I will say sometimes cleaning isn't enough. Over time, that water repellent coating I mentioned earlier, durable, not permanent, it will wear off. It will, from jamming it up and stuffing it in your backpack, backpack straps, or you might notice really abrade your shoulders, and that wears off first. So if cleaning no longer is enough, there are products also that help restore the water repellent coating on your jacket and other gear out there. So there's it's a two-step process for care, for really extending the performance life of your gear.
Okay, so step one would just be wash it and then go use it. And then if you're seeing some continued issue, then you do a DWR. It would be like a spray on.
So there's different types out there, of course. There's both wash-in waterproofing and spray-on waterproofing. Obviously, we always say do what the brand recommends. So if a brand recommends using a spray-on, use a spray-on. I really like wash-ins because you just do a second load in your washing machine. You get a really even coating, and you don't have to have your jacket dripping all over the floor of your house. So I'm a big proponent of doing one cycle to clean and then a second cycle to re-waterproof. We make a product called TX Direct that's great for that. But so again, always go with your manufacturer's care instructions first. Check what they say. But yeah, totally a two-step process, but always make sure you're cleaning before you're re-waterproofing. There's always an inclination. People just want to grab a dirty jacket. It's not working. Just take an aerosol can of some stuff and just hose it down. It's not going to work great. You really need to apply waterproofing to a clean item. We like to say, car analogies, you wouldn't just chuck wax all over a dirty car, right? You clean the car first, then you wax the car. Same thing with waterproofing. Clean first, then waterproof.
Got it.
So when you're doing a product like the TX Direct and re-waterproofing, that's in air quotes for those of you that can't see me. Is that actually, are you actually is that like Nikwax's own DWR coating that you're now putting on there? Is it revitalizing the existing DWR? What exactly is going on when you're using a re-waterproofing product?
Yeah, any re-waterproofing product is going to be applying a new coating. And most will just more or less fill in the gaps that aren't coated. So it's hard to waterproof something that's already waterproof. Mm-hmm. So our products will basically just re-waterproof any areas that aren't already waterproof. So it's re-upping where it's been removed.
So, I mean, is that like a special sauce then? I mean, because obviously it's different than the stuff that's applied in the factory. But how different is it? I mean, you can't just take I don't know, I'm trying to think of a piece of gear that doesn't have a DWR, but I mean, cotton t-shirt's a bad example because obviously that's never going to be water repellent, but what's out there that could be kind of water repellent? And then could you make it have a DWR by just washing it in TX Direct?
Yeah, actually we have a bunch of different waterproofing products. We can make things water repellent that aren't. We actually have a product called Cotton Proof that you can use on your cotton items. It will make them water repellent. It won't turn your t-shirt into a rain jacket. I mean, the weave is really it's much looser. Like rain jackets, the weave of those are super tight. A cotton t-shirt, water droplets can go through the weave of those, but we can make the fibers themselves water repellent. We can make polar fleece. You can waterproof your polar fleece. And you can apply it to something that, has a very light water repellency, like a windbreaker. A lot of people like to go to, thrift stores and buy those crazy old 80s ski jackets that really don't have any water repellency on them anymore. And you can totally re-up those as well.
And when you're at the point of re-upping your DWR, are you expecting to get like a week of solid use out of a coating, or could it go a month and be like a whole hunting season from one use?
Well, my favorite and everyone else's least favorite answer is it depends on use. It depends how much you're using your gear. So basically, I'd say you'd like to re-waterproof at least once a season if you're looking to really maintain dependable performance. However, if you're getting out like both days a weekend, every weekend, sometimes on the weekdays throughout a season, you might need to do a little more often than that. If you're a power user, you're going to need to use more product to stay dry out there because you're just, putting your gear through the ringer. But generally a good kind of baseline, as we like to say, clean a couple times a season, re-waterproof once a season. And unless you're like a super hardcore individual, which maybe a lot of listeners here are, that'll probably do you just fine.
Oh yeah, we got nothing but hardcores that listen to this show.
Then weekly. No, just kidding. Don't.
Before we get to down, one last question on drying, because I think that there's also some myths and wives' tales surrounding drying of this outerwear. Can you talk about the do's and don'ts there?
Yeah, so there's a lot of myths, as you say, around drying, and some of them are based in fact. Basically, all of those factory applied DWRs, the C8s, the C6s, are a heat activated DWR. So sometimes just by cleaning your jacket and chucking it in the dryer, you can revitalize that DWR. It kind of re-spreads it around on the surface of the fabric. That said, that will only last for so long until you actually need to apply more water repellency to the jacket. The other thing I will say, and I said it earlier, but always check the manufacturer's instructions when it comes to drying. Certain types of jackets, like Gore-Tex jackets, Gore-Tex is like, yes, throw it in the dryer. Gore-Tex loves being chucked in the dryer. There are other membranes on the market that don't like heat. So make sure that you're really paying attention to, again, those care instructions on the jacket when it comes to drying especially. A benefit of Nikwax, we've never used any PFCs, any of those C8s or C6s in our products. So ours don't need heat to activate. So if you don't have a dryer handy, you don't need to chuck a Nikwax treated jacket in the dryer to make the water repellent coating work.
That's interesting because usually I try to lean to like air dry. So that might not even, like air drying might not be great for it. Like it just won't be, if depending what it is, if it's a Gore-Tex jacket, it's not going to be like heating that up and spreading it out. Is that right?
Yeah, but if you're using a Nikwax waterproofer to re-waterproof, you don't need heat. So you can absolutely air dry, and that's totally fine. But yeah, I think the main point is to follow the care instructions when it comes to drying. That's the critical piece. And if, it's nice if you don't have a dryer to be able to air dry something and have it still work.
Yeah, I believe First Light says tumble dry low, if I'm not mistaken. All right, let's move on to down. Because down can be tricky, right? Because a lot of down jackets have a little bit of a DWR on the outside, but yet you don't want to get your down all glommed up with stuff that makes it not fluff up. So what's proper care for down?
Yeah, so it's actually this very similar story to your outerwear. Clean it. Make sure you're cleaning it regularly. Dirt and body oils can get on the down feathers themselves over time, and that will cause your jacket to lose loft. Also, if the outer surface of your jacket starts wetting out and the water gets through to your down, we all know down doesn't work when it gets wet. So that's going to cause your down jacket to not perform the way you want at all. So cleaning it regularly, super important for maintaining the coating on the outside, but also to keeping the feathers nice and fluffy. Using a technical cleaner is key because household detergents are really harsh and can strip the down of some of their natural oils and things, causing them to get really brittle and break down prematurely. So using a proper cleaning product, back to that again, is key. I will say you can add water repellency to a down jacket. There are a lot of hydrophobic waterproof down products on the market. But if you have a down jacket at home that the outer fabric is starting to wet out, Nikwax makes a product called Down Proof that you can actually wash in and it'll re-waterproof the outer fabric of the jacket, as well as add water repellency to the individual down plumes, helping to make that jacket repel as much water as possible so you maintain loft and stay toasty.
I'm getting a long list going here of Nikwax products that I have to go buy, Heidi.
Heidi, what you just said on those down jackets, that also applies to like sleeping bags, right?
Absolutely, yes. Sorry, yeah. I use jackets as a generalized term, but yeah, totally on sleeping bags too.
Yeah, especially if you're like sleeping in them without many clothes on, like if there's a lot of skin contact. Seems like that's where you get a lot of oils that could build up.
Yeah, exactly. We definitely, if you're able, using a sleeping bag liner is great to help prevent that. But I know a lot of people, going ultralight sleeping bag liners are a little bit an opposite ethos to that. It's also, I'd say for sleeping bags, it's really nice to have a waterproof down sleeping bag because when you're sleeping, you are like, your body is exuding a lot of moisture vapor. But if it's really cold outside, once that goes through the sleeping bag and hits the outer surface, it condenses. And so if your sleeping bag outer fabric is no longer waterproof, it's going to soak in and then soak into the down. And then you're going to lose a bit of loft and you're going to be chilly. So it's helpful for especially really cold conditions where you're going to get that kind of dew point difference between the sleeping bag and the air.
But that happens no matter if it's cold out there or not. You're constantly, when you're sleeping in a bag, your body's producing some kind of a moisture vapor and it's moving into the down. And it's not, your down bag is never as fluffy the 7th day of a trip as it is the first day, right?
No. But by making sure that it is at least waterproof or water repellent before the start of your trip, you can help prevent your down from absorbing as much of that water as it would normally. And so it's going to dry out a lot faster so that the next day it's not still damp and soggy and uncomfortable.
know you're just going to say it's the same as the above, Heidi, but give us the why. Why are dirty boots bad?
A couple of reasons. The first, actually, with dirty boots is it can get into, especially with leather, but even with fabric, dirt can kind of get into the fibers of the boot when you're walking because you get a lot of kind of friction with the bending of the boot and can cause your boot to break down prematurely. Also, if, again, really with leathers especially, but if you leave dirt and mud to just dry out on your leather boots, it's going to cause that leather to dry out prematurely, and that's when you get cracking in your leather boots. So by keeping them clean, you're just making sure that they have the best chance to last as long as possible and not get dried out and cracked and busted up before they need to.
And is that dried dirt or mud doing that? Is it like an osmosis kind of thing? Because it's just like a dry cookie sitting on top of that nice oiled leather, and it just slowly just sucks the oil out of the leather?
Yeah, it just kind of, just dries on there. And when it's doing that, it's pulling some of the moisture out of the leather at the same time. It's another reason you wouldn't want to, we don't recommend, I would say, don't dry your footwear out in the blazing sun or don't like stick them under your wood stove to dry them out or right next to the heater, because that heat is going to dry out the leather prematurely. I mean, obviously not under the wood stove, it'll melt, but heat is not always your friend when it comes to keeping your boots clean and dry.
Yeah, it can make them shrink too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm not going to mention the name because I think I warrantied them. I think they took care of me, but I had a brand new pair of high dollar boots and I dried them out next to a wood stove, and basically the glue on the toe cap just totally melted and collapsed, and the boots, I don't know, were at least 2 sizes smaller than before I dried them out. And I literally couldn't even wear them. And luckily the company took my mistake in their budget, and they were cool and hooked me up. But anyways, yeah, don't do that. What else was I going to say about, I was going to ask you, what about those, like the inverted Pete's dryer type things that you plug in? They don't really have a fan in them, but they just sort of slowly circulate air. You know what I'm talking about? For drying boots?
I think so. I think we have a pair here on my husband's dirt bikes, and we use it for drying out his dirt biking boots, but it's on the inside as opposed to the outside.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I think that's a better solution, really, because the inside can harbor a lot of moisture where you don't want it to be. So I think by drying from the inside, it's probably a better choice because you're not applying heat directly to the outer material. And those tend to be a kind of a gentler, more of a blowing sort of dryer, and not like a radiator or a wood stove. So it's going to be more of a mellow heat that way.
Got it. Okay, so how do you clean dirty boots?
Yeah, so I always make sure if they're like super muddy, super self-explanatory, I'd hope, bang them off outdoors, brush them off outdoors first. Usually when you're cleaning boots, you're going to be doing it in your sink. If you can do it outside over a bin, that's great too. But try to get as much dirt off before you start cleaning, if possible. You can use like a pick or a brush to get it out of the soles too, just so you're not muddying up your cleaning water or your sink. With cleaning all types of footwear, we talked about technical cleaners with rain jackets and down jackets and sleeping bags and all those things. If you want your footwear to have a functional water repellent coating, so again, we're talking about waterproof, breathable footwear, you should be using a technical cleaner on your footwear. So there's a bunch available on the market. We make a product called Footwear Cleaning Gel. It comes a little scrubber brush attached to it. You just basically get your boot wet. You scrub all over the boot, getting all of the dirt and stuff off of it, and then give it a rinse. I like to take the laces out of any boots first because sometimes a lot of dirt will collect in the tongue, especially if you have like a gusseted tongue on your boot. So just making sure you get all the different spots of your boots clean to make sure it doesn't break down prematurely in a sneaky spot that you missed. Yeah, and then let them air dry naturally. And it's pretty straightforward. I like to stuff the insides with like some paper towel, or if you're feeling environmentally friendly, you could use a couple rags just to help pull any moisture that may have gotten in there during the cleaning process out more quickly.
Okay, so when I come home, I thought you would be impressed about my little boot cleaning kit, but I don't have actual soap. I just have a brush. I just brush in water. But you're saying I should add some kind of a cleaning agent to probably get the dirt that I can't see off of my leather.
Yeah, it's going to be kind of like, again, like the rain jackets. But especially if you're noticing that your boots aren't repelling water effectively anymore, that's really when you're going to want to use the cleaner. I mean, sometimes we all just want our boots to, not be dirty from time to time. Sometimes it's a badge of honor, and I get that too. But look at how dirty my boots are. Sometimes I'll just do a little quick cleaning without the soap, just to make them look a little spiffy. But the soap is really key to maintaining that water repellent finish on the outside.
Okay, so the soap is not only cleaning, it's also adding water repellency.
No, it's just removing any residues that are a little bit more stubborn that just water isn't going to get off. So if there's any oils or stubborn dirts, it's going to remove those so that the water repellent coating can work the way it's intended to do.
Got it. Okay, well now my boots have been wet and dried so much that they don't have that nice sheen of a nice oiled boot anymore. So how do you get them back in action?
Yeah, you can re-waterproof them. And for leather, there's a ton of products out there on the market, and everyone has their own preference about what product to use. We make a product called waterproofing wax for leather. That's great for all sorts of full grain leather boots and gloves. And it maintains the tanning agents of the boot so that they don't dry out, but it doesn't over soften. So some products on the market add great water repellency, but they will soften the leather over time. Other products that people really love, which again, that's totally cool if that's what you're into, but do contain a lot of animal products, which there's nothing wrong with that, especially with this audience. But what it can do is it can lead to mildew, as well as, and this is a kind of an extreme situation, but I've had this happen where I left an item out, in the gear barn. And if you put products that contain animal products on items, occasionally small creatures can get in and nibble on them because it tastes tasty. So really depends on what you want to use. I'm not going to preach too much more about one being better than the other, but the important thing is that you're going to use something that, like you said, really maintains the suppleness of the leather so they don't prematurely dry and crack. There are other waterproofing products for all types of footwear as well. So even if your boots aren't made out of leather, which less and less boots are, it's more of like a fabric and leather combination or an all fabric. There are products out there that will add water repellency back to those types of footwear as well, so that your boot can be nice and breathable.
Got it. So a lot of these products are like what you see, if you go to a certain boot manufacturer, they'll often try to sell you like just a little, like a little can of cream. That's just like, they call it like trying to think. Usually it's not like a waterproof. They don't sell it as a waterproofing deal. It's just a conditioner. And that's basically the same thing you're talking about, right?
There is, yeah. So conditioners are great for preventing your leather boots from drying out and cracking. The challenge with overusing conditioners is they can over soften the leather of your boot, which can compromise the support. So it's important to keep them waterproof, because if a boot is wet all the time and then dries and wet and dries, like we talked about, it will prematurely dry out. So by keeping it nice and waterproof, it'll help protect the boot. So I'd always recommend using a waterproofer more often. Conditioning is great for if you're breaking in a boot, or if you have a boot that's kind of a little bit old and tired and starting to get a little bit dry looking, then a conditioner is going to like revitalize it a bit more. But otherwise, I'd stick to a straight waterproofer so you don't over soften the leather and make your boots all floppy.
Gotcha. Okay. What about some of these organic ingredients, like folks talking about just using regular fat, which basically gets into talking about, the animal products that you just talked about and how they can be bad. And then like beeswax as well.
Yeah, there's different types of products on the market. Sometimes if it's something that's too wax based, it is more of a straight coating, which can compromise the breathability of an item. And we talked about the challenge with fats and things, again, makes them attractive to be nibbled on. They can get rancid. And then it depends on how you treat your boots. Some people will wear their boots out, they'll wear the soles out long before they wear out the uppers.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's kind of more your style, I would always check with a cobbler about what products to use, because there are certain waterproofing products on the market that make it so you can't re-sole certain types of boots. So if you're the sort of person that's hard on the soles of your boots, but like really do a good job preserving the uppers, and you want to get your boots resoled, which is a great thing to do because it makes them last a lot longer, and the tops are already broken in. I would check with a cobbler, because they're going to have great insight as to what products to use so that you don't make it so you can't resole your boots.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Okay. And next up, like still keeping on the boots train, we've been talking about leather boots mostly, but what about synthetic boots?
Yeah. So as long as it's something that's still designed to be breathable, you're going to want to maintain the DWR coating on the outside the same way. So there are products that exist on the market to do that. You still want to clean it first. And then you can use a spray-on waterproofer. We make a product called Fabric and Leather Proof, which is great for all types of fabric, synthetic, cotton, and then a fabric and leather combination. And that'll just, again, add that water repellency back to the outside of the boot so it can breathe from the inside out.
Gotcha. Okay. Perfect. Well, I think we went through that pretty good. We always like to in the ending of our podcast give listeners like some really good, hard, like hot tips that they can take away from this. Is there any like really hot tips for gear care that you can give listeners as a takeaway?
Yeah, I mean, hot tips. I love it. So a couple ones. One maybe is really obvious, but always put your gear away clean. Like never put your gear away dirty if you can avoid it. A lot of times if you put, especially jackets or anything that touches your skin where you've sweat into it, if you put it away dirty, all of your sweat and body oils will actually attract bacteria to your gear. And that bacteria can prematurely break down the interior, the linings of your jacket, and that can cause delamination a lot faster, which is not what you want. So put your gear away clean, everybody. Super important. My second hot tip, which I try to tell everyone, and I tell myself, even though sometimes I forget, always check the pockets of your gear before you clean it. So you're not chucking your, $400 Gore-Tex jacket in the washing machine with a tube of chapstick and a half-eaten Cliff Bar, causing mayhem in your washing machine. Check the pockets. Same thing with putting away, again, backpacks and things. Check the pockets. And I'm sorry, I'm throwing Cliff Bar under the bus here, but I left one in the side pocket of my backpacking backpack, and it absolutely got eaten, chewed up the whole bag because it tasted delicious. Some little creature. So check the pockets. Number one tip. Perfect.
Well, thanks again, Heidi, for hopping on. Really enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks for listening to all my tips. And if y'all have any questions, of course, I'm available and happy to chat more.
You ever get that feeling the walls closing in, the concrete jungle suffocating you? You crave some wide open spaces, the chance to connect with nature, maybe in a spot all your own. Well, head over to land.com. They've got ranches, forests, mountains, streams, you name it. Search by acreage. You can search by location. You can search by the kind of hunting and fishing you're dreaming of. Land.com. It is where the adventure begins. Hey, everybody, listen up. I got mega huge news. Meat Eater Live is heading back out on the road. That's right. Join me and the crew. Clay Newcomb, Cal, Yanni, Spencer's going to be there. Phil the Engineer's going to be there. Meat Eater Live, headed back out. Now, when you get every ticket, okay, every ticket you buy, you get a signed copy of our new Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook. This tour is celebrating the release of the book. Buy a ticket, get a signed copy, Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, camp stove, and campfire, which I'll point out is a $38 value. Here's where we're going to go. April 23rd, the Mesa Art Center in Mesa, Arizona. April 24, the Balboa Theater in San Diego. April 25, the Grove in Anaheim, California. April 27, the Crest Theater in Sacramento. April 29, the Union in Salt Lake City. April 30, the Egyptian in Boise. May 1, the Wilma Theater in Missoula. May 2, the Bing Crosby Theater in Spokane, Washington. May 4, Revolution Hall in Portland, Oregon. And May 5, the last day of the tour, Pantages Theater in Tacoma, Washington. For tickets and more information, visit the events page at themeateater.com. Hope to see you at the show.